10,000 years. And still we don't know why they brought us here. Do you ever wonder what they expected of us?
Every day. Perhaps that's why they did.
A lesson?
A test.
If it was a test, we've had enough time to fail it.
And yet here we are.
When my grandfather was a ranger, he told me there were parts of Tython where no Jedi had ever set foot. Now there is a temple in nearly every direction I look.
That wasn't built by stone. It was built by generations who chose balance when it would have been easier not to.
Do you think we'll ever finish?
Finish what?
Understanding the Force.
If we ever do, then we've misunderstood it.
Ranger Tal Varro, you've crossed half of Tython to stand before this circle. What burden have you brought with you?
I came from the northern valleys. A settlement wishes to expand beyond the old boundaries. The farmers say they need more land. The beast wardens say the migration paths will be destroyed.
And what do you believe is the balanced path?
I do not know.
That is why I came to Akar, Kesh.
And if the settlement does not grow?
The harvest will fail within a few years.
And if the migration paths are broken?
The herds may never return. Then neither side seeks harm. Each seeks survival.
Balance becomes difficult when both paths are necessary.
Then what should I tell them?
Tell them the answer is not waiting here. Tell them they must find it together.
Akar Kesh teaches balance. But balance alone was never enough.
To remain balanced, one must first understand.
Is the texture correct? Yes, the proportions are perfect. The new light from the east is perfect for sketching.
I see it now, thank you. Observe the interplay of light and shadow.
A question has troubled scholars for generations. What serves the future more? Protecting what is already known, or seeking what remains undiscovered? Without discovery, knowledge eventually becomes repetition. Every chart we study, every history we preserve, was once something unknown, an excellent argument. And yet, if we forget what came before, how would we know whether our discoveries are wisdom or merely old mistakes repeated?
Master, could both be true?
Could preserving knowledge and seeking knowledge be the same path?
That is precisely why this question survives. Knowledge does not stand still. Every generation inherits it, questions it, changes it, then leaves it behind for those who follow.
Then why do we guard the archive so carefully? If knowledge must change,
Why preserve every version of it? Because memory is a compass. Without memory, discovery becomes wandering. And without discovery, memory becomes a prison.
How much of Tython remains unknown? We have mapped valleys, seas, forests. Yet the Rangers continue returning with discoveries. How can both be true?
Because maps create an illusion. A chart tells us where a place is, not what it becomes.
Tython.
Changes. Storms reshape valleys. Rivers carve new paths. Even the Force leaves its mark upon the land.
Then perhaps we have never truly mapped Tython.
Exactly. The moment we believe a mystery is finished, we stop looking. And that is when knowledge begins to die.
how many of these reports remain unexplained? Some of these records are centuries old. Have none of them been solved?
More than you would expect. Some Rangers returned with questions, not answers. Knowledge does not grow because every mystery is solved. It grows because someone chooses to continue searching.
Some of these places may no longer even exist. Storms, time, the Force. Entire histories could vanish, which is precisely why we preserve them.
Every record in this room is a conversation across generations. One scholar begins the question, another continues it. And perhaps, centuries later, someone finally finds the answer.
Many believe knowledge is preserved in these walls. It is not. Stone preserves nothing. Crystals preserve nothing. Archives preserve nothing. People do. Most treasures lose value as time passes. This one gained it. When it was created, it was merely a record. Today, it is a witness.
These people are remembered because someone chose to preserve their story.
And because generations refuse to let that story disappear.
One day, this record may be forgotten again.
Then why preserve it?
Because memory is not preserved for the present. It is preserved for those who have not yet arrived.
When each of you first arrived on Tython, what did you expect to find?
Answers. I thought whoever brought us here would tell us why. Instead, I found more questions.
Questions do not concern me. I came to learn what we can become, and why these temples were built.
Master, how long do apprentices remain here?
For some, a few months. For others, many years. No apprentice leaves Padawan Kesh until they understand where they truly belong.
And if someone belongs in more than one place,
Then they study in more than one temple. Many healers first trained among warriors. Many scholars began as explorers. Some spend years moving from temple to temple before discovering their true calling.
if no one chooses for us, then how do the Masters know where to send us?
We do not. Padawan Kesh is not a place of answers. It is a place of observation. We watch. We listen. We learn who you are before deciding where you should continue your training.
So the Masters do not decide.
You do, eventually. And when that moment comes, Padawan Kesh is no longer where your journey continues.
Tell me, Taran, when you look upon all of this, what do you believe you are truly seeing? Most answer with what is easiest: stone, metal, water, machines. Yet every visitor who arrives here eventually realize they were not looking at the same thing.
I see knowledge. Generations of people trying to understand something larger than themselves.
A good answer, but still the wrong one. Knowledge is only what remains after understanding has already occurred. What I asked you to see comes before knowledge. A storm can be measured. A star can be measured. Even a living mind can be studied. But numbers alone tell you very little. But Kaleth exists to teach a different skill.
Which is?
To ask the right question before searching for an answer. Most students who come to Kaleth arrive looking for answers. The better students learn how to recognize the wrong questions. And the best ones eventually learn the difference.
Then Kaleth isn't teaching us what to think. It's teaching us how to look.
Now you're beginning to ask the right question. Lyra, you're here early.
She's checking the horizon markers?
The Eastern River measurements. And the moon crossings from 3 nights ago. Something doesn't match.
Then one of the earlier observations was wrong?
Maybe. And now you understand why Kaleth exists. Not to preserve knowledge, to test it.
And test it again.
So every generation checks the work of the last.
Exactly.
Three independent archives place the first temple gatherings within the same century.
And all 3 archives originate from Kaleth.
Problem isn't the archives. The problem is the ruins.
By how much?
Between 100 and 200 years.
Which means all 3 could be repeating the same error.
You spent 6 months crossing Tythos Ridge just to tell us every archivist before us was wrong.
No. I spent 6 months proving it. You know what visitors always ask? They think knowledge is stored here. It isn't. Knowledge is questioned here.
If it survives the questioning, then it's worth preserving.
Most students come here looking for answers.
That should be engraved above the entrance.
It used to be.
What happened?
Someone questioned it.
Nara.
What is it?
This path wasn't here before.
Can you identify it?
I think I can.
From where? Not from where. From who?
If this identification is correct.
The accepted chronology changes.
Not all of it. Only the part we've spent it 1,000 years defending.
I hate when he's right.
You must hate it often.
Do we publish?
Not yet.
Agreed. There are still gaps. But for the first time, I think we're looking in the right direction.
My brother thinks this is the easiest assignment on Tython. He imagines all I do is stand in warm halls and look through lenses. I stopped correcting him years ago. If he spent 1 week here, he'd run back to Mahara Kesh before sunrise.
When I first arrived, I planned to stay 6 months, just long enough to complete my research placement. I already knew where I wanted to go afterward. I had the entire future planned.
6 months became a year. Then somehow a year became 8. At some point, I forgot to leave.
My first year here was miserable. I missed forests. I misted rivers. I misted seeing a horizon that wasn't made of cliffs. Then one day I left for 6 months. I thought I'd enjoy being somewhere else. Instead, I spent the entire journey comparing everything to Anil Kesh. That's when I realized this place had already become home.
Most visitors think Anil Kesh is only about instruments and storms. Every expedition, every failed reading, every correction, it stays. A student may spend one season measuring a single ridge. Another may return 50 years later and understand why it mattered. That is why this archive exists.
The newest apprentice always want the dangerous assignments first. They think discovery happens out on the bridges. Sometimes it does, but more often it begins here. A record that does not match. A name copied incorrectly. One detail that everyone else passed by.
When I joined Anil Kesh, I wanted field work. Lower Canyon routes, new surveys, places no one had mapped. I thought the archive was where discoveries went after they were finished. I was wrong. This place is where most discoveries begin. Before anyone climbed down into the chasm, someone here finds the reason to go.
If we ever reach the end, Anil Kesh would become a museum.
The archives grow every year. Sometimes I wonder how much of it anyone will read.
More than you think. I've spent half this year studying records written by people who died centuries ago. And most of them still had something useful to say.
Most people remembers explorers. They remember the ones who crossed the chasm.
And not the people who filled the shelves.
No. But explorers rarely succeed without them.
Good.
Good?
It leaves more room in the archive.
Easy. I just need a better look. The signal went out 5 minutes ago. They should be here by now.
You keep saying that.
I can still feel my arm, so that's probably a good sign. The beast nearly took the whole shoulder. Hold still.
That's your medical advice?
My medical advice is don't fight cliff beasts twice your size.
It fell.
After you jumped on it.
There. Do you hear that?
Yeah.
Mahara Kesh transport. You're going home.
I'm tired.
I'm tired of bleeding on Anil Kesh reports.
He got lucky.
That doesn't look lucky.
The beast went over the cliff.
And him?
He almost followed it.
Let's keep you conscious until Mahara Kesh. We'll have healers waiting when we arrive.
You hear that? Good. I've had enough adventure for 1 week.
You ever notice they always arrive at dawn? Explorers, rangers, survey teams. Something about Tython seems determined to injure people before breakfast. There, even the ocean wants to participate.
It usually does.
How many arrivals this month? 32 serious injuries. 2 cave collapses, 1 cliff fall, and somehow 3 people bitten by the same creature.
How many generations have worked in these halls now?
No one agrees. 700 years. 800, depending on which records you trust.
And yet every healer arrives believing the body is simple.
They stop believing that quickly. Usually before their first year is over.
The body heals. The mind heals. Even the spirit heals. But never in the same way twice.
That's what frustrates the apprentices. They want rules. The Force rarely cooperates.
No. The Force keeps giving them exceptions.
We've studied thousands of patients, hundreds of species. Every year, our records grow larger.
Yet the most important lesson remains unchanged.
And that is?
We do not heal people. We create the conditions that allow them to heal themselves.
The first lesson of Mahara Kesh. And the one most students spend a lifetime trying to understand.
As they should.
Cold as hell up here. Remind me why I ever left Kaleth.
Don't take another step.
I'm unarmed. You entered Stav Kesh without knocking. I tried. The mountain was louder.
Most people wait at the gate.
Most people don't climb for 3 days just to turn around.
Then say why you came before the cold finishes the answer for you.
I came to join Stav Kesh.
Wrong temple to choose when you can barely stand.
That's why I chose it.
You came here looking for pain?
No. I came looking for the part of me that runs from it.
Careful. Stav Kesh has a habit of finding that part quickly.
Good. He says good.
Either brave or frozen past reason.
At this point, both are possible.
Through those doors, the Master will decide whether you came here to train or simply to collapse somewhere warmer.
Warmer sounds tempting.
Then you are definitely in the wrong place. Pain is not permission to lose form! Again! Better! Now survive it twice. Hold the line. Do not blink because he is stronger.
For the
hold. Too much rage. Again! Pain is not permission to lose form.
You are listening to the weapon. Listen to the body before the weapon moves. Now, better. Again. You are chasing the strike. Feel the weight before it turns.
Control it! Your anger moved it. Now your discipline will stop it. Again! And this time, do not let the mountains see you panic!
The stone is burning!
That means you can still feel it.
Stop talking. The cold listens.
I came because I was tired of running from fear.
Fear is not your enemy.
Then what is?
The lie that fear commands you. Remove your pack. Good. Now stand where the cold can find you.
I was hoping for a meal first.
Survive the first lesson, and we will discuss food.
The stone remembers movement, even after it has passed.
Strength moves the weight. Precision decides where it falls.
Your third thread is dragging.
I feel it.
Feeling it after the drift means you're already late. Separate them.
They resist.
Because you're binding them together. 3 objects, 3 wills, 3 commands. There.
I corrected it.
No, you saved it. Correction happens before failure.
Why add more?
Because battle never gives you one problem. An enemy, a blade, a wound, a collapse. Hold all of it.
Not strength. Timing.
Now you begin to understand.
You have learned enough to become dangerous.
Then we are improving.
Or surviving.
Ilisve, you hear what the Force leaves behind.
Echo reading.
Whatever happened here still lives in the stone.
Valor Kane, you harden the Force around yourself. Shielding. These are foundations, not mastery. Echo reading, shielding, force cloaking, compression, displacement. The Force is not one blade. It is 1,000 doors.
And the rest?
The rest break people.
Most of you learn one door and mistake it for the whole temple.
Mind fracture, force severance, sensory collapse, a bone compression, nervous disruption. You came here to strengthen the Force. You are here to survive it.
Every damn lock fights harder than the last.
Good. Means it still has strength.
Hours for one lock.
And years before the hand stops shaking.
The southern supports are weakening.
I know. The lower channels are carrying too much heat.
And too little ore.
The last extraction teams came back light.
Not light enough.
The iron vein near the western ridge is almost dead.
Then we dig deeper.
Deeper means unstable ground. More predators. More losses.
We need stronger alloys. Anil Kesh wants reinforced bridge joints. Mahara Kesh requested surgical steel. Stav Kesh wants 20 new blade cores.
And Akar Kesh?
They asked for armor.
For what?
They didn't say. The new force binding process is unstable. 3 blades cracked this week. Because the younger hands rush. They fear falling behind. Then teach them this. The Force strengthens metal. It does not forgive weakness.
And if the ore runs dry?
Then we start taking it from places we left untouched.